Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to share and to tell your FBR story. Well, let me start, and as I always do with most everyone, how far back does the relationship go?
Well, the first time I met, he was then general. He was the head of this PCINP.
PC pa, oo.
Yeah.
And you were?
I was a lawyer practicing, opposing the martial law rule. No?
Okay.
So, there was this incident in Davao. This was, I think, the 1981 Easter Sunday bombing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And as a result of the bombing, about 50, I think there were about 57 who were killed and about 200 plus were injured. As a result of two grenade explosions. So because of that, there was a call from the people of Davao to have it investigated. And I was then the vice chairman of the IBB Committee on Human Rights. And after investigating, I found out that there was an attempt on the part of the military then to come up with the findings that all those killed as a result of the two grenade explosions were the result of the explosion, of the grenade explosion, including the almost more than 200 injured. Pero sabi ng mga doktor, at saka yung mga, how do you call them, yung mga expression guns and explosives, yung... a grenade cannot kill more than 5.
Or the...
Pero ang namatay doon, 57 eh. Dalawang grenade lang. So I started investigating. I went to all the hospitals where those killed were brought immediately after the incident. There were some doctors who told me that they were told by the military to say that all those who were killed as a result of the grenade explosion.
So may cover up.
So there was a cover up. So I came up with a report na hindi posible na yung dalawang grenade explosion could kill 57 people and injure about 200 plus. That was the time when then my boss was then the PCINP head, and he called for a command conference in Davao. And as head of the Human Rights Committee, I was invited. That was the first time I saw him and we met.
Okay.
And during the the meeting, he was telling the people not to discredit the military. He said.
Nagko-cover up nga eh.
And he was saying that there are some sectors in Davao City who are trying to discredit the military. So I came up with a statement. Sabi ko, sir, if there's anybody discrediting your people, it's your own people. First time namin nag-meet yun eh. He looked at me, he stared at me for a few seconds, and then I thought he was going to say something, pero wala, he stayed cool. So he proceeded with the meeting.
Any first impressions? Well, you say he was cool. Okay.
Although Bishop Mabutas, who was then our bishop for the Diocese of Davao City, said, "You better apologize to the general. He might have you arrested." I said, "Why should I be arrested?" Martial law.
Yeah.
So anyway, hindi naman I was not arrested. But anyway, months after that, I was arrested.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was really a punish order. So it was because it was the result of a Welgang Bayan. We had a strike, transport strike.
Okay.
I was picked up from the picket line, so that was jailed. I don't know if it was a punish order, but when we both met again during Cory's time, he was then the Secretary of National Defense, and I was then the Secretary of Justice. he would jokingly say, "You were my prisoner." And he kept saying that until he became the president. He would tell the media and say, "Oh, alam nyo ba na itong Secretary of Justice ko, bilanggo ko ito." He would always, he would always say,
well, most everyone who was in the protest movement during the Marcos period was under, at one point in time, under his custody, because he was one of the chief implementers of martial law. But yeah, tell me how did you relate or react to that prospect? I mean, you were a rights lawyer.
Yes.
You were in the militant civil society groups, movement that opposed martial law. And then here you are, you find him right beside you in the cabinet.
Well, you know, I think our closeness started during the campaign.
Kampanya.
When he ran for president.
President in the 92 campaign.
The 92 campaign, because...
But you were in the Senate slate.
Yes, I was, but actually it was supposed to be my boss, Secretary Dulon, who was supposed to run for the Senate with him. But I think he changed his mind, and the late President Cory had to put somebody. And they asked me to see her together with Rafi Alunan.
Okay.
Sabi niya, Bebot, we need somebody to represent Region 2 and Region 11. And you're the guy, he said. Region 2 and Region 11. Tama kayo.
Para yung region mo.
Taga Region 2 ako, but I got married to somebody from Region 11. So, you're the right guy. Sabi ko, ma'am, wala naman akong preparasyon. Nobody knows me. Wala naman akong finances for the national election. Tutulungan ka namin.
Okay. What was it like working with him in the cabinet? I mean,
but that's where we became very close.
Sa cabinet.
Our closeness started, because every time he would have a special trip, kasi yung ganyan yung mga kandidato for senator would go ahead. Then he would just join us. And every special trip, he would bring me with him. Yeah.
Ano yung kwentuhan ninyo? I mean...
No, probably because, alam mo, he always thought maybe that I mayroon akong connection with the left. So, siguro akong shield niya.
Okay.
So, and then when we were in Region 2, when he would fly to Cagayan, the northernmost town of Cagayan, he would bring me with him. We go to special trip in Tuao, because his candidate for congressman got killed.
I remember.
There was the brother of this Governor Mamba. Yun, pinuntahan namin. So that's when we started becoming close.
What did you see that others did not? I mean, he had a public face, he had a public mask. Ano yung nakita mo sa character in those trips? I mean,
alam mo, being a military, you would not expect him to have a very big heart. Very big heart yan. Kasi one time we were in Agusan, a town in Agusan, I cannot remember correctly. May mga, yung mga kandidato niya, binibigyan niya ng tulong. Merong isang kandidato for mayor, parang mukhang walang means.
Okay.
So lumapit siya, sir, I am for you, behind you totally. Pero, alam mo sir, wala akong kapera-pera, hindi ako Sabi sa akin, Bebot, may pera ka ba? Sabi niya. Meron sir, peram, sabi sa akin. So, binigyan niya yun. I mean, alam naman natin noon, at that time we were on a budget campaign.
Right.
Pero he went beyond baruing humiram sa akin. At binigyan niya yung tao.
There were a lot of stories that we picked up actually na gano'n. I mean, he always had a special place for the little guy.
Yeah, yung mga maliit na tao. Even during the campaign na nagmo-motorcade kayo, makakita siya ng matanda na kaganon. papahinto niya yung ano, yung sasakyan, sabi niya, oh, umano na, it would reach out, ganun. Oh, otherwise, alam mo naman yung bangkad dito, gano'n lang, di ba?
Dadaan lang, lilipad lang.
papadaan lang,
Oh. Did you see kasi yung initial impression, sundalo nga so very stiff, tight upper lip, stiff jaw, hardly smiles.
Very soft siya. Except for his being military.
Matikas.
Wala pagkano. Ganito. It's always like a very common layman. Even among yung mga candidates. Oh, you all lost pasensya kayo. But the best is still to come. I mean, number one mo.
Siya yung nanalo
ganun siya.
But that was a hard climb, sir, wasn't it? I mean, no war chest, no established political organization like the other candidates.
Talagang kami we were all in a budget campaign talaga. There were times when we could not even leave the hotel because nobody could pay for our hotel bill. But we managed up to the end, and it's his energy that kept us.
What talaga? But tell me about that. I mean, people say he was driven. He was very passionate.
Talagang siya, yung energy niya. Yan lang yung style. We go out together, yung 24 of us. Then he will join us. Then we go to transfer to another niya. He would fly to another place. Then rejoin us, ganon. Talagang tuloy-tuloy ang kanyang kampanya. May mga extra trip siya na hindi namin na Pero ganon.
Samantalang kayo sumusuyod sa on the ground,
Yeah. Masyadong masipag talagang
Okay. Okay. So iba yung work ethic, I guess, or the work ethic was different.
Grabe yung work ethic yan. Early in the morning, you get a call from him. 4 to 5 in the morning, you get a call from him. Then he will send you a piece of
clippings.
Clippings from may mga doon, may mga annotation na doon. So,
nakatikim ka rin noon, sir. Yung mga the marginal notes.
Saka, even doon sa mga niya, sa mga how he pursued yung peace talks. I went through how many presidents already? Pang-apat na. It was only during his term that we accomplished 10 substantive agreement. 10 yan.
With the left?
Yes.
The CPP?
Doon na formalize and na pirmahan yung the first substantive agreement, which is the Comprehensive Agreement on Human Rights and International Humanitarian Law. Yun ang first agreement na pirmahan sometime in March of 1998, before the end of his term. Pirmahan kami sa Amsterdam. Kasi doon sa framework ng peace talks, 4 ang substantive issues. Human rights and international humanitarian law, socio-economic reforms, political and constitutional reform, and then if we can agree on these 3 issues, we will go to the final issue, which is cessation of hostilities and disposition of forces. Yun ang framework. And the more important thing about the framework is that the talks will be held without any precondition. In other words, when you go and sit, wag kang ceasefire mo na, walang ganon.
Wala.
Ito lang mo nang kausap, no precondition. Yun ang framework ng talks.
And well, I guess your connection or maybe your association with maybe he also recalled your previous earlier interactions. Nilagay ka niya, no? You were the entire stretch of his administration in the peace panel.
Yes.
Diba?
Yeah, and he always told me that I put you there because they are your friends. They trust you, he said. But then somebody, I will not mention it anymore, somebody got me out of the panel because he said, "You are too close to them." He see, somebody put me there because I'm close to them, but somebody got me out of that because I was close to them.
But the appointing authority
Yeah,
was the president. Ano? But
Only
I guess,
10 agreements. So, unprecedented yung ano.
He had a knack for picking the right people for the...
Yeah.
In your case.
And, you know, he was totally supportive of the panel.
Talaga.
Once the panel makes its recommendation, and he agrees with the recommendation of the panel, nobody can anymore circumvent the recommendation of the panel. Kahit sino, I remember noon si Secretary De Villa, who was his defense secretary, he would call for a cluster E yun ang tawag doon, yung
Security.
And he would listen to the recommendation of the panel. Our chairman then was Ambassador Howard D.
Yeah.
Would make the presentation. After the presentation, he would ask the member of the Security Council to comment. Ang mag-objects palagi si Juan. Pinapakinggan naman niya, but then he would always yield to the recommendation of the panel.
Of the peace panel. How important to him was getting the peace process done? How important was it?
To him, it was one of his most important agenda, I think, because I remember one time the chairman of the NDF panel, Louis, visited him together with his wife and two other members of the panel, the NDF panel. He had a very good talk inside Malacanang. Ganda ng usapan. Then after that, paglabas namin, Louis Andoni was interviewed by the media.
The press corps.
He addressed the president. I just had a talk with the general. Sabi niya, so, ako. I rushed back to the president. Boss, sabi ko, pasensya ka na. I did not expect that to come from him. Kulang lang sa pansin mga yan. Did not make it an issue out of it. Kulang na pansin mga yan.
But he, out of the box din siya, no? I mean, he would meet, he was willing to meet. Pretty strange again, because this fellow is a military the military background, and a man of arms would want a cessation of
and he pursued it to the limit. Achieving 10 agreements.
All throughout 5 years. Now, he reached out 3 main groups, if you remember, sir. One, the CPP-MPA, andun ka, di ba?
He created a lot of panels.
And then
Meron
MNLF.
Sa MNLF, sa MILF, sa RAM, sa YOU, sa yung mga rejectionists. I think he created 7 peace panels.
Ang dami, ano?
Kinausap lahat yung mga rebel groups.
Successful with RAM, SFP, YOU. Eventually, Gringo even became a senator after the 95 elections. Successful din with the MNLF, with the 96.
ABB.
Yeah.
The ABB rin.
Okay. And then, hindi ka ba nasasayangan na hindi, while there were a lot of substantive agreements reached with the left, with the NDF, a final peace agreement was not reached, was not arrived at. In fact, to this day,
Actually naman I don't look as the success of the process by the signing of a peace agreement. Kasi the strategic value of the talks is that while you are talking, you are actually addressing the root causes of the armed conflict.
Okay.
Yun ang strategic value. So, madalas ka magsasabi, bakit ba kayo nakikipag-usap dyan? Wala naman nangyayari, puro usap ng usap. Hindi naman sila mako-convince na mag-ano. What they fail to understand, to see, is that yung talk is just a mode of addressing the root causes. Doon namin pinag-uusapan kung bakit nag-away eh. Why are we fighting?
Yeah.
And that's the number one, the number two issue, socio-economic reforms. Kaya tayo nag-away dahil extreme poverty of the people. Yun ang
People are
sinabi
hungry.
ni Heidi, you remember the
Yes.
findings of the commission of the late Heidi Yorak?
Heidi Yorak, yeah.
Number one cause of the insurgency is extreme poverty of the people. Sabi ni Heidi, kung lahat ng tao ay may sapat na pera para magkaroon ng sariling lupa, sariling bahay, edukasyon, health, and everything, wala na magre-rebelde. Lalong-lalo na, sabi niya, kung walang injustice. Yeah. So sabi niya, one of the root causes also of the armed conflict is the injustice. That ang tao, they think that government cannot and will not give justice. Kaya gano'n ang nagkakagulo. And then finally, yung third is the corruption in government. Yun ang sinabi ko. Yun. So yun ang pinag-uusapan during the talks. It's not the signing of a peace agreement. You can sign all peace agreements para pag nandiyan pa rin yung cause of the armed conflict, wala pa rin peace.
So your sense is, to this day, you're still part of the discussions, so your sense is, what valuable pa rin yung
Really?
ginawa from his time.
That's the tactical value din kasi when you are talking, you are saying more talks, less shooting. Less talk, more shooting. So more talks, less shooting. Yun ang tactical value. Yun ang hindi naintindihan ng tao eh.
And then strategically, na pag-uusapan
Napapag-usapan.
yung root causes. Okay.
Yun ang ano eh.
Okay. Well, some other assignments, sir. You became Solgen, running after malfeasance in
No, actually,
or the ill-gotten wealth
the job of a Solicitor General is that you are the lawyer.
of
You
government.
are the statutory of government. And you know, it's a very thankless job because this is a case of a lawyer lawyering for clients who do not consult their lawyer before they make any move. You see, that's the disadvantage. Kasi yun ang problema sa trabaho mo eh. Yung government office or agency, they enter the contract, they do some projects without consulting you. Pag nagkakaso sila, doon na lang sila lalapit sa iyo.
Yung may problema na.
The idea should be that before they sign a contract, they should consult you. Para pagka nagkaroon ng litigation, you will be prepared to defend them. Pero hindi. Kaya thankless job yung Solgen.
But you accepted. I mean,
Yeah,
why did you take it, and what were the instructions from from
just-
FDR?
Yeah, he just told me, do what is right. You don't have to defend somebody if he's wrong. He said. Unfortunately for me, wala naman naging masyadong issue sa amin, except yung sa issue noon tungkol sa yung mining. The mining noon. Somebody questioned the constitutionality
Of the mining law.
the mining law. Pero okay naman, na-sustain naman.
Eventually, yeah, it was sustained.
Sustain.
It was important to you that you knew he had your back, ano? Lalo na yung ikaw yung Solgen, no?
Oh, that's very important, no? Oh, that's very important na alam mo na may tiwala sa'yo. There was that funny incident nga eh. Funny incident. And I was not yet a Solicitor General. I was the spokesman of the Lakas NUCD. Okay. If you remember, this Benito Chamson was arrested.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And together with him was his wife, Wilma Chamson. They were both arrested and put in jail. But Benito was sick, so he was in the heart center. Okay. Of the parang ambush interview, tinanong ako ng Manila Stanza, sabi niya, oh, nahuli na yung dalawang asawa. Anong sa tingin mo? Sabi ko, okay naman ako. Pero under international humanitarian law ako, you cannot imprison both the husband and wife.
Yeah.
Dapat palayain yung
Yung isa.
yung isa. Na headline ngayon. Na headline. FBR, child's value. Child, kasi formally comment daw.
Oo.
Di sabi ko, sabi ko ba, kasi ako lang comment. Anyway, there was a meeting and I was called. Eto na, mga media na ako dyan, mamumura na ako dito. So, when I arrived, sabi niyo, kayo, yung headline nyo na I chided my spokesman. Halika kayo. From Malacanang, we went to the art center and he ordered the release of Wilma Samson.
Confidence booster sa iyo yun. Diba? Because it affirmed your remark, your observation.
Probably because he also talked to our late friend, who also became his labor secretary and then eventually member of the Supreme Court, si Justice Leo Quisumbing. Siguro nagsabi siguro tama yung position ni Bebo, sabi siguro.
Okay. Ang ganda ng mga storya mo, sir. After the campaign ba, sir, were you appointed to one of the government seats or?
Ang una kong yung membership ko sa panel
Ayun na sa peace panel.
But sabi nga,
wala nang election ban yun no?
Wala, hindi naman kasi hindi government position So sabi niya, since you will be traveling, I will put you to the yung PAL. Doon.
Okay. So you had
he was a member of the board ng PAL. Kasi sabi niya, we'll be traveling. You can use that. He didn't know that was the best. That was the best board seat that you can give anybody. Kasi don't be mo if you are a member of the board, you are free.
Yeah,
and
sa flights.
Immediate members of your family are free. So your wife and all your children are free. Ang accommodation nyo. At that time, may first class pa. First class. Ang ang seat mo. And then, yung mga kapatid mo, they were entitled to 75%.
May discount na.
So yung mga kapatid ko na nasa abroad, they kept coming home na. Yun ang pinakamagandang board seat. Saka naging member ako ng remember this building is the Urban Bank.
Yes, sir.
I was also a member of the board.
Pero government ba yun? It was under government receivership din,
Hindi, may utang kasi. May utang sa GSIS o GSS, I think 3 seats. So binigay sa akin yung isa.
At teka, paano mo na-resolve yung Paano mo na-resolve yung GSIS?
Yung wala na. Non-solve dyan na
anong nangyari? All the while, akala ko.
Sabi ni Ruben, ako naman, ibili ko pa.
Ungkatin ko lang yung some of the backstories of the peace process with the it was drawn out and while yun nga there were agreements eventually that were arrived at with the military rebels, with the MNLF eventually, and then partly also with the MILF. I mean, how difficult was the process, was the negotiations, and what kind of support did FBR give the panel na, I mean, you guys just kept on and at it.
Well, actually, it was a very difficult process. Alam mo, there were moments na nagkakaroon ng stalemate. There was even a time when suddenly we declared a suspension. But the president was totally behind the process.
Tulad nun, pag nababalitaan niyang may stalemate, ano yung sinasabi niya sa inyo?
I remember nung nasaan ba kami noon, nasa New Waikhan. That was the first time na nagkaroon ng suspension. Naku, binulyawan kami.
Talaga?
Binulyawan kami. Told you to suspend. Kami, I remember, kami ni si Jess Dureza. We went back to the office of the NDF, pinunta namin. Huwag tayo mag-suspend. Let's change the term. It's just recess. Let's call it recess. Ayun.
Which it really was. I mean, pahinga muna. I
Oo.
mean, let tensions go down a bit and then let's
May
regroup.
mga heated moments talaga. Minsan, I remember the late, not late, the retired Chief Justice Tessie De Castro was our legal advisor.
Ako nga, bro, sa peace panel, ano?
There were heated discussions on Pero the president also said, you remember yung word na dribble? Gano'n niya. Huwag yung huwag yung i-cancel or suspend. Dribble, gano'n siya. Saka anything you recommendation of the panel, almost 90% binababa pa niya.
Oh, yun nga yung sabi mo na ano eh. Ang laki nung confidence boost that you knew he was behind you guys.
10 agreements siya na. Hindi basta-basta agreement siya. Yung JASIG. JASIG is the joint agreement on safety and immunity. So this goes into international humanitarian law. Pati yung tungkol sa military, nandyan
Those, I'm assuming those 10 sub-agreements are actually the framework of what is going on now, right?
Yes. That's the reason why there was a resumption. Yung JASIG paved the way for the formal resumption of the talks. You remember mo paano ni late President Cory nagkaroon ng talks, then na cancel.
Yeah.
There were attempts to revive. This is the this is the talks, the agreement that formalized the resumption of the talks.
And every other administration after him has capitalized on those.
They also made use of this agreement.
On those agreements.
Yung JASIG is very important part of the process. Well, of course, yung comprehensive agreement on human rights, yung bagay din yun.
Yes.
I remember, pumunta pa nga si Speaker of the Venetian doon to watch the signing. March 1998 yan.
What was life like in the in the cabinet? I mean, nag-a-attend ka pa ba ng pinapa-attend ka ng mga mga cabinet meetings?
Of course.
I mean, how did he I mean, all those the cabinet was former CEOs, former managing directors, puro mga hepe ng kani-kani.
I remember how patient he was, he stopped smoking, di ba? But there was one member of the cabinet who was a smoker, chain smoker.
Okay.
Si Cablas.
Yeah.
Wala siya magawa. Naliligarilyo. Ako naliligarilyo din, but I cannot do it kasi parang privilege yung Cablas yun eh.
Did he have enough time to finish everything he set out to do? Yan, tulad nun, nasasayangan ka ba na hindi nakaabot na...
That made us realize before that the term of 6 years without re-election is not a very practical term. Dapat they go back to the old arrangement na there is an opportunity for re-election. Kasi ang mangyari dyan, the moment you are elected, after you are elected, you immediately become anong tawag doon? Wala ka na, hindi ka
lame
na
duck.
Lame duck. After you are elected, you are a lame duck immediately. So, you don't care anymore what happens. Kasi, saka 6 years, you cannot do much. Kaya maganda yon, maybe even better, 5 years with re-election.
So, magiging 10 at least. There were attempts to amend. If you
there was even
remember.
an attempt to push the boss for anong tawag doon?
Pirma.
Constituent Assembly something.
And the People's Initiative. Were you consulted on that? Were you part of the
No.
the silent group?
Political yun eh. So, I was not. But I can see that the President was not very ang tawag doon, parang hindi naman siya against, pero parang cool. He was cool. Cool. The suggestion of his political advisor.
And eventually he decided, wag na. Okay. Okay. And how have you remained connected over the years when he became Citizen Eddie na?
You know,
Sir, pareho kayong
Huh?
Ilocano.
yes, and we play golf.
Oh,
We
okay.
play golf.
Yung pagka-Ilocano ba niya na napansin mo rin while he was...
Talagang super genuine ka-GI talaga si boss.
How so?
Talaga.
May naaalala ka bang ano?
Oo, yun lang pagkain namin pag cabinet meeting isang ulam kumisan
Tipid talaga, ano?
Oo, tipid talaga siya.
But I guess that was also he was frugal because
Probably
he was aware.
That's what he likes yung
Sa bagay.
ulam namin sinigang. I think that his favorite, so yun lang ulam rin namin.
Oh, okay. So yun na rin yung sa inyo.
Yun yan sa namin.
Walang nothing yung lavish.
That's
And he kept away from it, ano? He lived quite a Spartan lifestyle,
very
no?
Spartan talaga yung lifestyle niya.
Oo. Ay, kwento mo sa akin yung yung early morning calls mo.
Yun. He would call me, or his staff would call me, "Sir, you meet the president. Bring your set," gano'n. Pupunta kami doon. Tagal mo. Sabi na. How can you work?
Over golf.
Nag-uusap kayo for instruction.
Hindi recreation yun, sir.
Hindi nga recreation, distraction yun. Part of your work na. Wala kang kundi mga instruction. Gawin mo dito, tingnan mo si Cliff.
So while you were preparing for your drive or your putt, he was...
And then sometimes he would stop. Teka muna, wag ka muna mag-putt. Baka masira ang putt mo. Gawin mo ito, ha?
You've stayed connected over the years since he's... how have you stayed
every
connected?
now and then, I pay him a visit. Kung may yung mga birthdays niya, yung mga important event niya, we never fail to greet him.
Nagko-comment pa ba siya sa on current events? And
Especially during GMA's time. Marami nag-comment.
Yeah. And yeah, you were part of GMA's administration also, ano? Okay.
I was nga the bridge. I was the bridge. Kami ni Ermita.
Ermita. May value pa ba?
Even,
May value pa ba ang...
yung reputation niya kasi is something solid. Solid yung kanyang reputation. High respect for him.
Ikaw ba, were there any key insights or into governance and leadership that you picked up from him?
Probably is mixing work with play. Yun ang Kasi it's style din yun style. Style na you're kagaya ko. I won't notice na he's playing with me just to give me instruction.
Distraction dun sa isa.
You will not notice na the reason he played golf is may sasabihin pala sa iyo.
Why is it important that people should draw lessons from FBR's term as president?
Yes, because whether we like it or not, the fact is President Ramos did a very good job. Yung level of peace at during his time was unprecedented yun. Kibiro mo pagpasok niya, ang daming problema nun. Remember mo, problema nun yung energy.
Brownouts.
Brownout. He did some very drastic move just to address that issue. Kibiro mo, brownout yata umabot yata ng 5 to 7 hours a day, no?
A bit more, actually.
Yun ang ginawa niya. Iba talaga yun.
Is there an FBR legacy? What is it? What do you think is his most significant legacy as president?
I think his legacy is is hard work in government.
Okay.
Hard work talaga. Talagang i-show to everybody na importante yung work and dedication to work. Kasi marami dyan, they join government just to do what they are supposed to do. They don't go beyond yung kanilang responsibility. Ito si boss covered lahat eh. Covered na lahat. No? Kaya nung peace process that was beyond his,
Yeah.
his mandate. Pero talagang sinundan niya to the limit yun.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.